Hi guys, White Witch 110 here. I just got finished reading the next part of the story as promised, Vision of Grandeur, only to turn around and see that the phone that I usually use had shut off. So here I am starting all over again. This one started to give me problems. I was about to lose my mind. Anyways, here we go again. Or for me anyways. Here's the next part. Ruth, for the first time in as many nights, did not dream. She woke feeling refreshed with a new outlook. Cornelia's coffee mug sat on the kitchen table, steam rising from it. Cornelia. A reply came from the side porch. Out here, was the dismal response. Ruth took up the mug and brought it to her. You left this inside. She felt the change. Are you okay? I'm fine, she turned. I'm sorry about last night. I just wasn't expecting to hear you say you were leaving. Cornelia sat on the top step of the small veranda. I'm not going. I've had time to think. I can't leave you here on your own. What type of friend would I be? The best friends hugged, putting the previous night's clash behind them. Today was a new day. Ruth could not shake the transition in attitudes. Cornelia didn't give a second thought to the dream. Sitting at her desk, concentration fully on the screen, she felt the heat of a presence. She did not turn around. A full minute passed before she sensed it closer. Can I help you? Cornelia asked, continuing to gaze at the computer screen. There was no reply. Cautiously, she swiveled in her chair. Empty space. Had someone quickly moved away as a joke? She'd never know. Ruth made it home first, so she started dinner. Meatloaf was easy to prepare and didn't take long to bake. How was your day? She asked Cornelia when she came into the kitchen. For the most part, fine, but I had a strange feeling that someone was standing behind me at one point. When I turned around, no one was there. Scary shit. Ruth chuckled. Maybe it was your ghost. Cornelia had a serious tone. It could well have been. She took an exasperated breath. Clouds coming in. Looks like rain is headed this way. Dinner done and dishes put away, they retired to the living room. The small talk was painful to both of them. Emotions were still slightly on edge. We need to get past this, Ruth commented. I know. It's just to hear you say that. I'm truly sorry. I hadn't experienced any nightmares until last night. It was like we changed places. You had a nightmare? My sleep was so peaceful. I haven't had sleep like that in days. Ruth smiled on the inside. It's been years since I had a nightmare. Any idea what caused it? Ruth asked. Not a one. Cornelia wondered to herself, though, if it was due to the fact that she slept downstairs. She hadn't had a nightmare in her own room, so tonight, that's where she'd sleep. Ruth happily made her way to her own space, looking forward to a pleasant slumber. On the other hand, Cornelia was frightened to close her eyes, although she desperately needed to know who had touched her. Sleep came to both. Early hours of the following morning, dreams began to form. Each seen a field of tall grass. Amongst the vivid green, daisies peeked their white heads. All swayed effortlessly in the breeze that rushed across the expanse. The women walked through the field, allowing their hands to float above the flowers, barely touching them. In the distance, both could make out a figure, though they weren't able to recognize whether male or female. The figure waved and beckoned each to come closer. Against better judgment, they moved from their direction to the middle ground. The figure had vanished. The best friends stood facing one another. From beneath their feet, the ground shook, allowing loose earth to vibrate away from a small opening. They looked at each other, having witnessed this strange event. Now they watched in horror as a bony finger emerged from this tiny cavity. It was followed by 4 more. Cornelia and Ruth jumped back, terrified of what they knew must follow. Telepathically, the words came to each. "Do we run?" Ruth shouted over noise only she could hear in her head. "I don't know," Cornelia said, her eyes frantically searching for more hands to break the surface. They continued to back up from the now emerging arm. Instinct, they yelled, "Run!" In their beds, their legs were running, the sheets tangling between them. In their nightmares, the hand had a strong hold and was pulling them back. At that moment, both let out a high, piercing scream before waking. Cornelia and Ruth ran from their rooms to each other, meeting in the hallway, both shouting, "What happened?" Locking arms, they struggled for breath. Neither could decide which way to go. Cornelia shook her head, and Ruth followed to her room where they sat on the sleigh bed. "What happened?" Cornelia inquired first. Ruth spilled out words effortlessly. "I mean, we were in a field. There was a figure waving." Ruth stopped mid-sentence. "No, it can't be." The look on her friend's face said it all. "It can't be. How does this happen?" "I don't know, Ruth, but it has." "What does it mean? Who is this person? And why us? This feels like a bad movie. Is this house located on burial ground?" "To my knowledge, there has never been a cemetery here. It wouldn't make sense. This isn't the movie Poltergeist." "Then why? You said you've never experienced a nightmare. Why now?" Ruth had shook in response. Her entire body shook. "I honestly wish I had an answer. This is too disturbing." Cornelia's only thought was that they can't be alone. They needed to be united in this craziness. She rushed to her room, pulled the blanket from the bed, then rushed back. "We'll sleep here tonight." They tucked the covers tightly around themselves. It took ages to fall asleep. The first rays of morning broke through the curtains. Who did the skeleton arm belong to? It was then Cornelia realized she was back in her room. When had this happened? She didn't even remember waking up. In the kitchen, the friends recounted last night. Neither recalled her leaving the room. Ruth took to her computer, searching for history regarding the property. There had never been a formal cemetery on the premises, but that didn't rule out unofficial burials. "This is ridiculous. Hollywood has done a disservice to all of us," she exclaimed to herself. As darkness again approached, tensions rose. The thought of another nightmare caused them both to stay awake as long as possible. When their eyes were too heavy to keep open, they gave in to sleep. The dream began. Deep within the opening, their bodies slid. There was no resistance. Their feet landed softly on solid ground. On each side of them was a tunnel. Which way should they go? Ruth went to the right, which was closer to her. Cornelia took the left. They followed the prospective paths. Ruth took her to a funeral home. She apprehensively approached the open casket. As the face slowly came into view, she gasped. It was her grandmother. Ruth held tight to the side. Tears flowed easily as the emptiness of her loss became a cavern. A smile appeared on her grandmother's face. The eyes opened slowly to reveal gray pupils. "Grandma, you're alive!" Ruth scanned the room, but it was empty. "I have to find someone to help you climb out." Her grandmother's withered hand took hold of hers. "Child, there's no need for help. I've already gone. Listen to me," she whispered in a gravel voice. "Leave that house. I've come to warn you. You must leave that house." "But Grandma, I can't. I need to be with Cornelia. She's all alone. That house is too big for one person." "Granddaughter, you must leave that place." Ruth could see she was tiring. "I miss you so much, Granny." Tears came more quickly. "I miss you so much," she repeated. A second later, the body relaxed, falling back onto the satin pillow provided. Then all around her went dark. A spotlight shone on the casket, and a minister appeared. He was administering last rites. His mouth moved, though no voice was heard. "She's already dead. What are you doing?" The casket lid slammed shut. She could hear her grandmother pleading repeatedly to leave the house. Unseen pallbearers wheeled the wooden box away. The last words heard, "Leave that house." That's it for this evening. I hope I'm leaving you hanging, which no doubt I am. You'll have the next installment, hopefully tomorrow. The ideas are already in my head. I just have to get them out into the tablet. So, my lovelies, until the next time, ciao for now.